Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm back with a new layout and video for Shimmerz Paints, and I'm going to be starting this layout using this pattern paper from Heidi Swapp. I love that it's rainbow. I also love that it looks watercolored and it still has a fall vibe to it. It's got these really pretty muted colors, but it's still got a rainbow variety, and I thought it would be pretty to base my color scheme with my shimmers on this paper. And so what I thought I would do is cut the strips off and make them a little bit thinner and create sort of a little horizontal or vertical, I wasn't sure which direction, but I want to glue all these together. And so I'm going to run each one through my edge distressor to kind of ruffle up the edges and then glue each color strip underneath the previous one. And you'll be able to see here in just a second when everything is glued together, the texture from the edge distressor, and it gives me a starting point because I'm going to use white cardstock as my background. And I like doing things like this to kind of give me a starting point. So you can see what I'm talking about here. Now I've got this thing, and I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do it horizontally or vertically because I haven't chosen my pictures yet, but I'm going to use that somewhere on this layout as a starting point. So for my background, I'm going to use thick, smooth white cardstock and clear gesso to start. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any background work on the sides or on the top and the bottom. Wasn't sure yet. So I'll let that dry. And then off camera, I prepped another sheet of white cardstock with clear gesso. And this particular piece of cardstock is just plain white textured. So this is pretty flimsy. So I made sure that it was had gesso on it. So the idea that I had was I wanted to cover this whole sheet with colors that were going to match the rainbow stripes. I'm using Spritz Caribbean Sunset. The pink color is Spritz Cotton Candy. And then I added in some of that yellow golden color, which is called Vibez Glorious Day. This color here is a Shimmerz that's in the little pot there. It's called So Sappy, and it's kind of a burnt orange color. It goes really well with that golden yellow color. I'm also going to use an orange spray called Practice What You Peach, and that is a Spritz color. And my idea was to cover this whole piece of cardstock and make it look like watercolor in all those matching colors. And then I'm going to cut it up and run it through my die cutting machine because I'm going to use a new die that I just got and I've been dying to use it. So I'm going to use it today. This color here is, sorry, I just dropped it there, is called Shimmerz Pinko de Mayo. And the shimmers that are in the little pots there, they have the best shimmer of anything. You'll see here in a little bit once this is dry, but it's almost like there's ground up glitter in it. It's so shiny and shimmery once it's done. And the Vibez and the Spritz that are in the bottles that I'm using today, they also have shimmer. It's more of like a shimmery powder that's mixed in with it. So all the finishes of all of these products are different as far as the shimmer factor goes. And I do say that when I add water to the sprays, they tend to lose a little bit of the shimmer factor, but the color is still on point. So sometimes I'm not as concerned with if it's shimmery or not. I'm more concerned with the color. These two colors that I'm using here, the spray is Vibez Deep Blue Sea, and then the shimmers I added in with it is Run Forest, kind of like a deep forest green color. And when I mix those two together, it matches the dark green strips perfectly in that paper that I'm using. So I'm just going to continue to add all these colors. I tried not to mix the green section with the others because obviously I didn't want those two colors to mix together. But yeah, this looks like a big hot mess. This is not the background. Like I said, I'm going to cut this up. And this is a good way to do mixed media if you want to try it, but you don't want to, quote, mess up your background. I know a lot of people say they're afraid to add it to a background. Okay, let's look at this dry. I want to show you in the light all the shimmer. That extra shiny shimmer there, that is from the shimmers in the little pots that I used. The rest of it is still shimmery, but not as shimmery because it's a different, like I said, it's got powder, it's different, and I did add a little bit of water to it, so it diluted it a little bit. But here is my dye. This is from the Stamp Market. I just got this, and I love it. I cannot wait to use it. So this is my debut with this particular dye. It's just a group of little flowers. Yeah, let me grab it and tell you what the name of it is. The name of it is, it's covered up, of course. I can't read it. You're gonna hear some crackling. Hang on just a second. It just says Metal Edge Dye. I know it has a name. Ready to Bloom card cover. There you go. Obviously, I can't read. But yeah, I'll link it below if you're interested in checking this dye out. But you can see here what I mean by cutting this up and running it through my little manual die cutting thing there. And I'm just going to do as much as I can, one pass through with each section. And I don't wind up using all of the flowers that I cut out. If you remember the strips of paper, I've got the green on one end and the pink on the bottom or on the sides. I decided to go horizontal. So here are my two photos, just some cute selfies. You know, I love to scrap me some selfies. And I printed them in color because I felt like they had a lot of neutral colors in there and it would work well with these fall shades. So I thought I would kind of do like a tone-on-tone effect here and do green on the top and then pink on the bottom, since those are the colors in the strips that are there. And I'm going to do some mixed media on the background. But here I just thought I would start to play around with everything that I just made and see how it looks, how much I wanted to use, where I wanted it to go, and so on. So this is the very first piece of cardstock that you saw in the beginning that I coated with gesso, so it's prepped and ready to go. And I'm going to just go ahead and glue this down right in the middle. And I do want this to be straight since this is my starting point. And they are cut a little crooked, so it's not perfectly straight. But I wanted it as straight as possible. So I'm going to go back to the colors that I used to make the flowers. The two pink ones, the Cotton Candy Spritz and the Shimmerz Pinko de Mayo. And I'm just going to create a little watercolor area down here on the pink section. Again, I'm going to mix the two together, use my brush, add a little bit of water. I just like to add water because it helps it spread and blend, and it gives you some light areas, some dark areas, and I like to just kind of fade it out to where you don't necessarily see brush strokes or the edges. It just kind of softens as it spreads. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the deep green section, and I'm going to mix those same two colors together, the deep blue sea and the Run Forest. Every time I say that, I can't help but think of Forrest Gump because, yeah. I don't want to do my Jenny accent, but it may come out before this video is over. Same technique here. Add a little bit of water, use the brush, spread it around, because I know that my photos are going to be kind of stacked on that side, and I want the background to kind of show behind the photos and kind of around the edges of everything. And you're also going to be able to see this background color kind of behind the flowers. And I'm going to try to kind of fade it over to the left along the edges and make it look kind of soft and not too harsh on the edges. I'm just going to keep working on it. And this paper is pretty good about not warping too bad. It does, let me say, it does usually warp a little bit. I rarely make a background where I use liquid like this where it doesn't warp somewhere. But once I'm done, I will flatten it out by laying some heavy paper pads on top of it for a while. So here you can see it's pretty much dry, and since I used two of the colors in the pots, you can really see that intense shimmer there. I love that. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start to work on my photos. I've got some white tissue paper I'm going to glue behind there just for a little bit of a added border behind the photos, because I'm not going to layer any pattern paper or anything behind there today. I feel like the white border around the photo and the tissue paper kind of does that for me. And this is kind of a use your stash type of layout. So I'm going to be just kind of mixing and matching a few different things. And the flowers that I die cut are going to pretty much embellish this layout for me, because once I get those all set like I want them, I feel like I don't really need a lot of other stuff. But I do like how the flowers look on the background. I had two different shades of pink there. I thought I was going to use the darker one, but I wind up using this one here. It's got a little bit of the orangey yellow flair to it, but I really like how that looks. And then I have a couple of the orange ones that I'll put kind of right there where the orange strip goes. And mostly it's going to be the dark teal color and then the light pink. And what I like about this particular metal die is that, you know, you get the big cluster of the flowers, but then you also get several single ones to scatter around however you want those. So I happen to have, let me rephrase that, I happened to buy this particular thread just this morning. So no, I did not have this in my stash. So yeah, it's a new color for me. I didn't have it. But it's that deep green color, which I probably didn't have it because I don't use this color that often. So I had to add it to my collection of colors, and I'm going to add it right there to the left on the green section. And then I'm going to do the same thing with pink thread on the pink section down at the bottom. And I like to add colored thread for texture and color. It just adds a little bit of whimsy and messiness to the background, which I love because I love creating texture. And I think just by, you know, distressing the edges of those strips, it just makes such a big difference rather than having them just flat. And it's just my preference. It's just something that I like to do. And so you know, the more texture, the better. So I like how this looks. I'm going to go ahead and start to glue things down without moving it around. So that's where this fine liner bottle comes in handy because it's really skinny. I can kind of just stick it underneath things. And if you've never seen this glue bottle before, obviously mine is very well worn because my hands stay dirty with all of this mixed media. So I got that a while ago from Hobby Lobby. But you can also get them on Amazon. It's called Fine Liner Bottle, and the glue that I put in there is the Scotch Tacky Glue. And definitely don't get that confused with the Aleene's Tacky Glue because that glue is really thick, and I know people have tried to use it in this bottle before, and it has not, it's too thick to come out of the little needle part there. So the Scotch Tacky Glue is what I use. It works great, and it's the only glue I've ever put in there. So now that everything is glued down, I am loving how this is looking, and I don't really want to add any big things. I feel like it looks great as it is. So I thought I would look for some small things, and this is a Heidi Swapp sticker book that we got in a past hip kit, and it's just one of those sticker books that keeps on giving because there are, I think, over 1,000 stickers in it, and I pulled that little light mint green label sticker at the top that says recorded. And then this was also from Heidi Swapp from a different collection, and it's just this little sticker that says love, and I'm going to cut out these tiny little letters that spell love because they're that deep green color, and I want to put those as a subtle little detail kind of there to the left of the photo. It's even kind of hard to see here on camera, but you'll be able to see it in the close-up pictures because they're really small. And I'm going to glue those down because nothing really ever likes to stick to gesso, so I always add glue, even to stickers or chipboard, because they usually almost always pop off. I'm going to add in a couple more stickers. These are also from Heidi Swapp from, I can't remember the collection, but it was from the same hip kit. And it's the same collection that the patterned paper that I cut up in the beginning, the stripes, same collection. Storyline, maybe is it called? But anyway, these stickers match the colors here, so I'm going to layer in a couple of those, just some of the stickers that match, you know, an everyday type of thing. Like the pink sticker says you and me. I'm going to use a green one that says love. Kind of still trying to continue the tone on tone effect, which means, you know, I want all the green stuff to be in the green section and all the pink stuff to be in the pink section. And so there's really not, you know, there are obviously a yellow and an orange section, but they're just really small, so I don't want to go overboard. And I really didn't find much that I wanted to add in those colors anyway. I have this little sticker from the Stamp Market that I'm going to tuck in. And then I found this in my little bin of stash stuff. It's a Amy Tangerine thickers, and I really liked this heart eyes. So I'm going to make that my title. And it's white foam, and I don't want it to be white. I want it to be pink because it's going to be in the pink section. So I'm just going to use my same shimmers and color it up. And this is just something else that you can do with your plain thickers and with your shimmers. I didn't put any gesso. It probably would have worked better if I would have added gesso, because the foam, you know, it takes a bit of time to dry, and I had to add a little bit of, or more than one layer of the color. This is the Pinko de Mayo, and at first I thought I would kind of create an ombre effect where I would leave the top of the word white and then let it fade into the pink at the bottom, but I wind up covering the whole thing. Now I do wind up adding in the orange So Sappy color, but I didn't like the way it looked on the pink section, so I keep playing with it until I get it to the pink color that I want. But I'm just dabbing on the color and then using my finger to smudge it. So this is really easy to do. It just takes a few minutes. And you can, you know, customize any white letters that you have. So if you ever see anything on clearance anywhere, you know, and they're white, don't hesitate to get those, because you can change the color. You know, it doesn't have to stay white. So that's what I'm going to do here today. Now I tried to tear it, and I ripped the H. I'm trying to peel it off, and for some reason it was not wanting to come off the backing, and it's still wet. I should have waited until it dried, but you know, yeah. I needed to just calm down and wait, but who wants to wait? So I'm going to re-stick it so it doesn't look like I ripped it. And I do like the way this looks, but I don't know. I wasn't loving the half white, half pink. So once I get it situated where I want it, I do go back and make the whole thing pink, and I like that a lot better. You can see there that it's nice and shimmery. And I thought at first I might use a different color for the title, but I don't know, I just like the pink on pink. Now these are also some Shimmerz exclusive products. These are called dots, and I will link those below. There's a whole slew of little packages of these in the store. So these are just some generic ones that are white with black writing. The one at the top says darling, and then there's a little heart. I thought it was appropriate because my title is heart eyes. I just tucked a couple of those in, and then I'm going to make sure my thread is glued down appropriately where I want it. And I'm at a couple more small details. These are some Maggie Holmes clear black stickers, and I like these because they're small and tiny, and they look like you stamped, you know. I had to play with this one here. I wanted it to go right here, but I'd glued down my thread and I couldn't get it in, so I had to kind of work with the thread there. It says Hey Sunshine, but I finally got it. And then last thing I'm going to do is add in some splatters, just very subtle splatters. I'm going to do pink on the pink, and then I'm going to mix in the Run Forest with the deep blue sea again to get that deep dark green / dark teal color up at the top. And I didn't want these to be harsh splatters. I wanted them to be nice and subtle. So that's why as soon as I splattered, I tried to dab it up so it just leaves like a faint hint of the splatter, and it's not really deep, because if you kind of leave it and let it air dry, it's going to be a lot darker. So, you know, you can actually get different shades based on whether you let it dry naturally or whether you dab it up pretty quickly. So I've learned that little technique over the years. So I made sure that I kind of dabbed up pretty quickly there. And the last thing that I have left to do is add my journaling, and I decided to do it kind of wedged into the title there. So I'm going to kind of start under the H and then go underneath the word eyes a little bit. And I like to make sure my journaling is straight, so I use my ruler to draw some pencil lines, and then I'm going to use a black fine tip Sharpie to write in my journaling. But that's the final layout. I really like how this turned out. It was really fun to do. I really like how the pattern paper kind of dictated my color scheme, and it worked out really, really well. And it was fun to finally use a new dye. I really like how that turned out. And I hope you give this technique a try, because I feel like this layout is a good example of more of controlled mixed media, where you can make your mess on a whole separate sheet, and if you mess it up, it doesn't matter, because you're going to punch out of it or you're going to die cut out of it, and it looks totally different when you have your die cut shape. And then you can put that onto your clean background. So in a sense, you've done mixed media, but your actual layout is nice and neat, and you don't risk, you know, adding too much or messing it up, if that's something that you fear when you want to try mixed media. So don't be afraid to try something like this. It was a lot of fun, and I hope it inspires you in some way. I'm going to link all the products that I use below that I can find. All the colors from the Shimmerz store will be linked below, or I will make sure that they're listed so you can go check those out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.